Is this mic on? Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is a sound check. Brace yourself, cause we're coming with another one. Metal moves, singing speakers hotter than the sun. Dropping new bands that you never heard before. Seeing music in and we'll play it all around the world. Lots of haters talking trash, they don't like your shout. Grab a talker, join the party, and we'll shut them down. Independent radio is the future now. Turn it up, tell a friend. It's showtime.
I got to tell you, man, I'm super excited. I came up with this idea about midway through the year to do these genre-specific shows because it was honestly getting difficult trying to review and listen to a bunch of different genres within a 2-hour period. And it also gives me a way to judge what people dig. I did a poll on Facebook, and death metal, black metal, and doom metal all kind of tied for the top categories people want to hear. First off, let me tell you that every band we play tonight has the opportunity to be voted onto the Soundcheck Spotify, which is a pretty big deal because anybody in the world will be able to access the Spotify and know who Soundcheck listeners voted as a band that deserves to be on there. The way you're going to vote is by texting in the name of the band to 424-666-7356, but you have to know what number they were on the show. So you'll have to pay attention to the category. If you don't hear it on the show, you can always go back and look on iTunes or Spreaker or Facebook. There's always a list of the bands played in the order they're played in. So don't just text a name in. I have to know what order it was in, so people can't really cheat that way. Also, it's important for me to tell you guys that this genre and every genre, every time we do this, is what the band themselves label what they sound like. It's not me saying, hey, this sounds like death metal, I think I'll play it. This is what, when the band is sending me music, it says, we are death metal. Same thing with black metal, everything. It's not just my opinion, oh, I think this sounds like, it's what the band is calling themselves. So anybody that wants to write me and say, oh my God, I can't believe you called that band black metal. I didn't call them anything. They did. They called themselves something, not me. So let's just get that out of the way, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm still going to do the taco ratings. It's just not going to be as prevalent because a lot of this is going to be about getting the listeners engaged, getting the bands engaged, and getting this Spotify built up to where I'm okay with saying that I think Metal Moose and Soundcheck have gained enough notoriety that being on their Spotify is going to be a big deal. But the bands are going to need your help, man. If they don't have your help, they're not going to make it. So make sure and write it down, 424-666-7356. You can text it 24 hours a day. It's not a problem. Text in your vote. The votes will go until next week, until next week's show. So you'll have 7 full days to vote for the bands. We're going to kick things off on this very first genre-specific death metal Soundcheck first episode of 2018 with a band called Aeolith. And this doesn't change, baby. Just buckle it up, Buttercup, because here we go.
Is this mic on? Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is a sound check.
listening to Soundcheck with the Moose.
A little bit of Aolith right there. Make sure if that's the band that you want to vote to get on the Soundcheck Spotify, text in Aolith and that's song number 1 to 424-666-7356. For me, I didn't really consider that death metal at all. It was more black metal with keyboards, and that to me just did not really conjure up the meaning and of death metal to me. I was kind of like, you know. So it's going to be really interesting. By the way, it's like a 2.5 taco. Just not anything I'd be interested in listening to again very much. So yeah, to me that was just not very death metal. It was more black metal, and it was kind of, you know, crappy black metal. So not my thing. The keyboard intro was way too long. I mean, you know, you need to kind of gauge your keyboard intro to a song by the keyboard intro on Mr. Crowley. If it goes any longer than that, then it's turned from a song into an opus, and that's, you know, where Dream Theater comes in. And yeah, man, so just not. I was bored by the time the music kicked in, and then I was like, okay, this isn't death metal. This is, you know, poorly produced black metal. So, hey, listen, I wanted to mention also, I'm going to mention this a bunch throughout the year in 2018. You will not hear the same band twice. The only way that you'll hear a band twice is on the 4th show of the month. It's going to be a shortened show. It'll be a recap of the month. It'll have the songs of the bands that made it onto the Spotify. It'll probably be 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour long. And then at the end of the year, we'll have a best of show where, of course, we'll play the best songs of the year. So, but every show, new bands, new songs, except for the recap shows. You know, we're going to play those again. So, but it'll be labeled recap. So you'll have the opportunity to know, oh, I've already heard this. Or for the people that didn't have time to listen to the shows all month long, they can go back and kind of catch a recap of what we played. Hence, it's a recap show. This next band is called Apartment 213, which was Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, if I'm correct. Love that guy. He was tasty.
Where you get rated in tacos. Only on Soundcheck. Screaming,
Hi, this is Mario.
And this is Juan from Austral, and you're listening to
The Moose.
The Moose. It's Moose here with you from the Moose Pit. Actually, the depleted Moose Pit. We're moving into a new studio. We're having a new studio built. So right now, literally, it's a table and the setup and a couple empty CD racks. But we're working on apartment. On Studio 12 right now. That was apartment 213. That, sounded like Chris Reifert, kind of took a dump. All you old schoolers will know that's Autopsy. It's very Autopsy-esque. But I was never really a big Autopsy fan. Chris Reifert just, I get it, like at the time and all of that was probably, super brilliant. But it never caught me, which is weird because, I love some pathological and forensic kind of metal and gory and all that kind of stuff. And I know that some people out there, really, really regard Autopsy as one of the, big ones. But it just didn't work for me. So anyway, yeah, that was like a 3 taco kind of a deal. It was, it was disturbing and gory and even has a little bit of that hint of that weird pig destroyer kind of creepy feel to it, you know what I mean? So the production was a lot of fun. Not bad though, not bad. So make sure and text in your vote for the band that deserves to be on the Soundcheck Spotify. That's 424-666-7356. And you can text in 24/7, man, no matter where you're at or what time it is. And the poll will last until next week's show. So there's a full week. We'll count votes on, who gets on the Spotify list. Which, by the way, bands, if you happen to win the voting, you need to already be on Spotify. Or else I can't put you on. So that's a big deal. This next band is called Death Crawl. False Oracle. Interesting. Let's see if I'm interested to see what kind of death metal we get tonight, because it's been interesting so far. Let's do this.
This is Paul from Shadow Realm, and you are listening to The Moose. Oh yeah!
Now
suck? Send your music to Soundcheck.
Man, I'm digging on that. Some death crawl right there. I would give that right off the bat like a 4 taco deal. I like the guitar tones. They kept the song interesting. It had a real creepy, ferocious, vicious. The vocals were full of vitriol and anger. It was scary. It was violent. Those things are death metal to me. But there's so many different, and like in the very beginning, I thought, okay, is this going to be like a mellow death band? You know, I wasn't really sure what to expect. There's so many different genres of death, and that's what's going to be an interesting throughout the year to hear the amazing different ways people interpret death metal. You know, because for some people, you know, it's Floridian death metal. For other people, it's Canadian death or Buffalo, New York death or yeah, man. So there's a lot of different things going on there, or tech death and prog death and gent death, and I mean, it's just get all over the place. So make sure and vote on the band that you think deserves to be on the Soundcheck Spotify list. Which, as more people get into this, the bigger the Spotify list is going to be. I just created it a couple weeks ago, specifically for the show. So text in. Here's the deal, man. You can't just text in a band name. You need to know what number of song they were on the show. So that way nobody gets to cheat and just has 8,000 people text in the band. I mean, you need to know what number. You actually have to listen to the show. I know. Craziness that I want people to be involved in, and bands to be involved in. Fan interaction, stuff like that. So the number is 424-666-7356. That's the Soundcheck text line. Listen, you can text anything you want. You know, a picture, a comment, a taco recipe, a big taco recipe. You can text in about the religious fanatic that I talked to on YouTube before the show today. That was a lot of fun. You go to YouTube, the Soundcheck YouTube channel, you can see it. It was like 35 minutes of this guy just telling me that Jesus was going to eat babies, and it was crazy. It was fun, though. Hope you guys are having a good time, man. This is Moose, like I said, from the Moose Pit here, the depleted Moose Pit. This is such a cool new way to do this. I spent all of last year focusing on, you know, doing reviews of the songs and giving my opinion, and I'm still going to do that. I'm going to give the taco rating, and that's just not going to change, but I'm really going to focus more on, you know, where the sound came from, how the sound is, why it is or isn't death metal, or the genres that we're in. It's going to be a lot of fun. This next band's really popular. I've never heard them, but they're called Dehydrated.
Hi, this is Mario.
And this is Juan from Austral, and you're listening to
The Moose.
Text in your request to the Soundcheck Taco line 424-666-7356.
One of the reasons why I'm a nerd, and most people aren't, and they don't understand this show, is because I am a nerd. I love to be able to tell where something came from, or where the influences you can hear. I mean, to me, it was really obvious that you could hear Decapitated and Entombed in that, and Entombed with that. It's a little bit, it's changed these days, because Entombed on Left Hand Path had that real chainsaw buzz guitar sound, you know, like Bloodbath, like almost nailed it on the Breeding Death EP. But it had a little bit of that sponge genty kind of feel to it as well. I don't know if they're playing 7 or 8 strings or what, it's just got that now. But I liked it. Like I said, Immolation, Decapitated, Entombed, all great places. That was good, outstanding death metal. There was no question about what that was. That's a four taco deal to me, because that was something that, if somebody came to me and said, "Hey man, could you play me, some death metal?" I could play that and go, "That, my friend, was some death metal." You know what I mean? There wasn't, a keyboard, and there wasn't, a melodic vocal thrown in there, which, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, but that was just straight up death metal. And, you know, with bands like that, Decapitated being from overseas, and Entombed, and they have Immolation from here in the States, and all that stuff wrapped up into wood. It was really good. I thought that the drum tone was so dry. It was bone cracking. That guitar tone as well. Vocals really well executed. One of the biggest things that people have trouble with death metal, and you hear it all the time, is can't understand what they're saying. Well, I like it when the singers actually, pronunciate what they're singing. Really, really cool. That might be one that I would text, and if I were sitting back listening to this show, I'd be like, "Damn, that was real good." I'm gonna vote for that. So make sure and put your vote in for the band that belongs on the Soundcheck Spotify. Man, I'm stoked to do this because by the end of the year, we're gonna have added multiple bands to the Spotify playlist, and they're going to be able to say, man, the people that listen to Soundcheck, they voted us to be on there, and that's a big deal to me. This next band sounds like a death metal coffee shop to me. Just throwing that out there for Melissa Box, who loves coffee.
Find Soundcheck on iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and in your local taco truck.
Living under your skin.
listening to Soundcheck with the Moose.
Desecrated Grounds. Get it? Coffee shop? Yeah, so here's the deal, and this is going to cause a lot of controversy when I say this, is that the deal with death metal to me is, and black metal even, is kind of the same. Any group of kids can get together and just beat on their instruments and growl deep and call themselves death metal. Same thing with black metal, just, change the vocal style, and then it's, death or black metal. To do something, that's why there is that elite class of death metal, Carcass and Entombed and Deicide and Cannibal Corpse, and when you're one of the big boys, it's because you can separate yourself from that crowd of people, claiming to be death metal. And that had that Colombian kind of South American kind of feel to it. A lot of that has to do with the drumming, and also just there's a certain shade of anger in that music. I could be wrong. They could be from Kansas, but I don't know. It had that early Sepultura kind of shade to it as well. I liked it. I'd probably give it a 3.5. There's some good possibilities going on there. I feel like in the right hands, that they were shaped, they could do something. But overall, at this moment in time, I like the influences. I like the sound and the direction that it goes. But it's not overall something that I would want to listen to on a consistent basis, unless it happened to grow and turn more. I did like the fact that there were breaks and there were different riffs, and that's good too. But it didn't quite have that thing going on for me. So hey, make sure and find the show on iTunes. Just look up Soundcheck. Same thing with Spreaker, Soundcheck, TuneIn, YouTube. It's all the hell over the place. It's on, you can go to Metal Devastation Radio and search for it. They carry the podcast in the forum, not on the station itself. I don't even know what stations we're on anymore, just to be honest with you. I think we're on a Digital Revolution Radio now. I don't know. I stopped counting. But we're on almost all the digital platforms, even at like Pinterest, for God's sakes. We do have a Twitter. Just look up Soundcheck. We're there, man. Facebook is our biggest area. We have about 15,000 people on Facebook that follow and get involved in the show. So we'd love to see you there as well. Just look up Soundcheck. There's the Soundcheck page, and then there's a Soundcheck podcast, and then all of the other sub pages like Soundcheck Spotify, Soundcheck text line, yada yada yada. Soundcheck website, Soundcheck video feed. It's a bunch of them, man. So speaking of the text line, 424-666-7356. If you want to vote Desecrated Grounds onto the Spotify, it's your call, man.
Hey, metal fans. This is Matt from the band Rectify, and you're listening to The Moose.
You're listening to Soundcheck with the Moose.
Destined for death there. It was me personally. I think hopefully you're destined for a new guitar tone. I didn't like the guitar tone. Didn't like the rhythm playing at all. The riffs were kind of generic and weak. I don't know that I would even call that death metal. Blackened death. I don't know that I feel like there was a whole lot of creative, like triumphant feeling in that. It was pretty boring and generic to me. It's not anything that I like I said, I would get into. I'd probably give that a 3 taco. It's okay. It's not anything that I'm going to pick up the phone and text in. I want to hear those guys again. I'm going to say, I've heard that. I'm done. So it's just sorry about that. Hey, I also wanted to make sure and tell you guys to get involved also in the Soundcheck Twitter and Facebook poll. There's a Facebook page for that as well. Every week we send out a poll and ask you guys a question to see your feelings on stuff. And the question last week was, who had a bigger influence on modern day metal, Europe or the United States? And we'll get into the answer to that a little bit later. But it's a pretty interesting comment because you've got Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and even the Beatles and stuff like that. So how do you try and even fight with that? And then you can get into Napalm Death and Carcass and la 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 la. I mean, there's been some major Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, of course. Big things come out of Europe, but also the same thing with the United States. I mean, if you get into record sales and who's had more record sales, Metallica and Motley Crue and Lamb of God and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you can get into Slayer, of course, Megadeth, and and then you go back and forth, and you got Sodom and Creator, and I mean, it's an endless. Then you fight, and you say, well, we have, Testament and Possessed, and things like that. And I guess Anvil, they're from Canada, so they're not. I guess they're part of North America, but I didn't say North America. I said United States. So anyway, yeah, so it's fun. We get into discussions and have fun with that. Make sure and get involved. Like I said, we'll give you the answer to the winner of the poll coming up a little bit later in the show. We're about 50 minutes into the show. Coming up next is a band called Devourer with a tune called Omega. I think I may have played this on Soundcheck at some point in time, but this will be the last time you hear them on this show, unless they hit the best of, or if they win the Spotify thing. So yeah, Devourer with Omega right here on Soundcheck with the Moose, coming to you from the depleted Moose Pit in very cold Oklahoma City,
where you get raided in tacos, only on Soundcheck. Want to know if you suck?
Hey, you suck.
Send your music to Soundcheck.
We got into this a lot last year on Soundcheck, and that is bands that sound a lot like another band. And my rule has stayed the same. Listen, if you want to sound a lot like somebody else, you need to do it better than they do, or at least comparable. And I don't know that it's fair to say that that's comparable, but that's obvious. Morbid Angel Worship, Latter Day kind of domination. Kind of Morbid Angel. So I liked it a lot. It sounded to me like a lost Morbid Angel track. You know what I mean? Something they found in Morabound. Oh wow, check this out. It's an old demo thing. I said Morabound. That's right. I promise. I do make mistakes every now, but I do know my metal. But yeah, man, that was totally cool. I liked it. The guitar tone was great. It had that sludge. It had that just like you're being drugged by a really slow horse or something. it was gritty. I would give that 4 taco deal, man. So if you want to vote for that song to make it onto the Soundcheck Spotify list, which by the way, if you have Spotify, just go look it up. I'm going to look it up right now here on the old iPhone. If you go to Spotify, and then I think it's just called Spotify or Soundcheck Favorites, or let me see. I don't even know anymore. I give up. Yeah, I hate my phone too. So have I mentioned that? So I'm gonna go to playlist, and yeah, here it is. Soundcheck Favorites. That's what it's called. So if you go on to Spotify and search Soundcheck Favorites, it's a public playlist. You can't add to it or anything, but you can sure as hell listen to it. It's got 45 songs on there from the past couple years, but a lot of great music, a lot of really good bands. We just started the voting this year, though. You'll know you're at the right page if you see a old decapitated army guy with smoking a cigarette with the Soundcheck on the side of his helmet. That's the one. His next band is called Grethor, or Graythor, which makes it sound more like it was on He-Man. But yeah, man, we're going to check it out. We'll see how many tacos they can get and see if you want to put them on the Spotify list. Here we go, Grethor.
With the latest in high-octane Metal Moose. You've been weighed, you've been measured, you've been found wanting. Metal Moose. For the latest in high-octane Metal Moose. Visit them on Facebook at Metal Moose Radio for weekly podcasts and more up-to-date information and events. Metal Up. Metal Moose. to believe that somehow a calm, quiet resolve could overcome the basest
This is Richie from Grave Huffer, and you are listening to the Metal Moose.
Man, Graythor, I absolutely loved that. I'd give that a 4.5 taco. I love that whole whirlwind sound. That's another, Entombed trademark, Morbid Angel as well. Reminded me a lot of Angel Corpse, Pete Hellenkamp with that real vicious vocal. The guitar was just whirling. I love that. That's a circle pit. I love the kind of off rhythmy immolation kind of thing going on as well. It's definitely its own kind of black metal, I guess you could say, death metal mixture hybrid. But I dug it. I thought that was really cool. It's one of those things I think a lot of people have a hard time getting into because there's not a lot of groove going on to it. I mean, it's just whirlwind to get in the pit and throw down. The vocal was just sick. I'm a fan. So far, there are a couple bands that I'm fighting in my own head, going, "Gosh, who would I vote for to get on the play?" But here's the deal, man. So many people ask me all the time, "Hey, what do you think?" And it really doesn't matter what I think. It's about what the people listening to the show think. And that's why we let them vote. I get to be the lucky dude who gets to hear it all, and I have it all, on me, so I can listen to it whenever I want. But there may be somebody out there. I think it's very important that I encourage all of you to go to these bands' Facebook pages, Reverb Nation pages, Bandcamp, all that stuff, and purchase a CD to show your support, or a shirt. I like to go buy shirts. I like to buy vinyl too. So yeah, man, it's an awesome deal, but voting them onto the Spotify list is something that will be able to share that with other people who didn't get a chance to hear the show, has never heard the band before. That's one of my favorite things about doing this, is I get to introduce people to music they've never heard of. I swear I should have called this the Music You've Never Heard podcast. If going back in hindsight, but hindsight's 20/20, or Heinz 57, however you want to do that. Coming up next is a band called Nekrasov, which sounds Russian to me, and it says fragmentation and the rapid quicksand of concept. That's a big title. Guys know what that means. I expect big things with bands with big titles, so hopefully this is going to just blow my mind. The sound file looks like it's just solid wall of noise, so that's always a lot of fun. Hey, make sure and text in 424-666-7356. That's how this is going to work this year, man. Me and you together, working as a team. It's metal. It's Soundcheck. It's, me and you and stuff. Nekrasov.
Want to know if you suck? Hey, you suck. Send your music to Soundcheck.
What's up? This is Bailey Sullivan from Insolace, and you're listening to the Metal Moose.
Well, my ears are bleeding. If that means anything to you. Well, it reminds me of Gorgoroth, Gorgoroth and Dodheimsgard. Ladder, Dodheimsgard. Well, actually, I don't know. I say ladder. I seem to always think that I'm still, 28 years old, and I'm not. What was that called? 666 International, Dodheimsgard. Yeah. Even though there's a little bit more electronic and industrial formation on that. But Gorgoroth, definitely. I felt a lot of the Gorgoroth influence there, which is, you get down to Gorgoroth and Pentagram and Under the Sign of Evil, and Gorgoroth is one of those, to me, one of those very early bands that were one of the big boys in the scene. And they just came out just kicking ass, and it was vicious and it was brutal. So once again, I don't know whether I want to call that death metal. That was kind of industrial black metal noise to me, but I liked it a lot. I give it a 3.75 taco to keep that extra 0.25 for myself on that one, but just to try and stick in my ears because they're broken. Coming up next is a band I feel like I've heard of them before, and I think that when I looked at their Facebook page, they have like 1 billion fans or something. I could be wrong, but anyway, I feel like I've heard of them. So, and then I also have a feeling, just by the look of the way the song is set up and their name and all that stuff, that this might be one of those gent prog metal type things. So, I don't know. We're going to find out here in just a second. I don't know that I would call Oceano prog, but it's definitely gent. Anyway, we're going to get into this real quick. Signs of the Swarm with a tune called Cesspool of Ignorance, otherwise known as Soundcheck. Yeah, that's right. It's Moose coming to you from the Moose Pit in OKC. Text in your vote, 424-666-7356. Let's do this, gent. I betcha.
You're listening to Soundcheck with the Moose.
This is Mike from Hellbent, and you're listening to the Metal Moose.
Signs of the Swarm there. You know what? I last year, and way, like 10 years too late, I decided that I was going to try to involve myself more in this new breed of gent and prog death kind of thing, which I've been listening to it for a long time, called, Angel Corpse and Nile and, Dying Fetus and Misery Index. And anyway, but the kids can't claim that it came from that, but I love that, man. I don't think that there's any heavy music liking individual that can't listen to that and go, Jesus, wow. It's extreme. It is technically proficient as hell. The musicianship is wicked. It's explicit. It's nasty. It is. It's fast. It's furious. It's awesome. I don't. Now listen, there's a bunch of it out there, since it's the new breed kind of a deal. But that was just as good as anybody else I've heard. You look at bands like Whitechapel and Thy Art Is Murder, who are, making a killing on this new breed or whatever you want to call it. But that to me was just as good as both those bands sound. It doesn't mean that they're better than them or yada yada yada. But anyway, whenever I hear a band like that I consider really good, I call it Unique Leader quality, because Unique Leader puts out. Unique Leader to me is the new Relapse. Back when I was younger, Relapse was putting out the most vicious, vile music possible, and they still put out a great product. But Unique Leader and Lacerated Enemy as well are really, really pushing the boundaries of extreme music, and that was awesome. So that's a 5 taco deal right there to me. And I don't know, I know the kids don't want to call it that, but that was death metal, guys. This is going to be fun. Torso Murder, Suspended in Mind. Can't wait to hear this one. This is Soundcheck.
This is Chris from Cold Creature, and you're listening to the Metal Moose.
Resistance, the words of life to watch.
Want to know if you suck?
Hey, you suck.
Send your music to Soundcheck.
You could go a bunch of different ways with Torso Murder, from the haunted to the exploited. It had some of that good old crusty feel to it, and I'm not talking about the clown from The Simpsons. It's called Crust, kids. Check it out. It's important stuff. Napalm Death, Barney obviously had some influence on that. Really, really cool. Other than that, I liked the disharmonic of the lead. I liked the guitar tone. It was a little bouncy for me. I always feel like I see the Veruca Salt girls bouncing on those things. But it was visceral. You know what I mean? It didn't sound faked. It wasn't coerced. It was just, it had a little bit of that Pig Destroyer grind-esque to it, which I like that a lot. I'm a big grind fan. I can't wait to do the grind shows because you're going to have like 49 songs on them. So, all right, that was 12 seconds from blah, blah, blah. Anyway, yeah, man, it's pretty cool. We get a lot of cool grind stuff from Horror, Pain, Death, Gore. Also, Transcending Obscurity sends us some good grind as well. If you guys haven't checked out Worm, WVRM, you need to check them out. Really good. Just ordered their vinyl off of Bandcamp. They're starting to make some noise out there, too. So, if you haven't heard of them yet, you will eventually. Also, Full of Hell, another good one. So, yeah, man, that was pretty cool. I'd give that a 4.5 taco rating. Nice. So I'm very curious to see the votes coming in, to see what you guys come up with. You vote by texting the text line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 424-666-7356. And don't just text in the name of the band. You need to know what number of song they were. And if you don't know how, if you missed it, you're not counting the songs, you can always go to iTunes or on Facebook or Spreaker, where we have a list of the bands in the order that they're played in every show. You'll know what we played. And speaking of, I mentioned it earlier in the show, you will never hear the same band twice, except for on the preview shows and also the year-end show. So every show is going to be brand new bands every time. You're not going to hear the same stuff. This isn't your normal show. We rock it out with as much new music as we can. We want to load you up, and we're using the term own the underground, because you have the opportunity to own what bands are dominating the underground on the Soundcheck Spotify list. When you get to that point, you have fans, you have engagement, you have people pushing for your music to be heard, and that's a big deal, man. I know that I would have loved it if back when I was in a band and there was some radio station who put me on their favorites list, but it'd be even more special and cool to know that the people listening to the show did. It's not a battle of the bands, because I hate that. This is an opportunity for the bands to get put on a big platform. This show is heard all over the world, in every country, every day. Somebody's listening to Soundcheck, and that's a big platform. But when you move up to the Soundcheck Spotify, now people can go back and re-listen, and they will check out your band and they'll buy your stuff. And that to me is what this is all about. Last year was all about reviewing the bands and giving my opinion, and I'm doing that a little bit still. I'm going to let you know what I think, not so much in depth as I did before, but now you're getting the chance to get up there on the Spotify. That's huge, man. Like Hindenburg, huge. So yeah, man. Coming up next is a band that I know that I played on Soundcheck, but I've still got. When I was putting these shows together, it was still 2017, so we're going to have some repeat bands from last year, but you won't hear any repeat bands in 2018, except for the the preview show, or whatever the hell it's going to be called, the fourth show of the month. It's going to be shorter. It's just going to be the songs that made it onto the playlist, and if you guys don't vote anybody onto the playlist, I don't know, I'll just come on and do a goofy talk show or something. We'll do phone-in interviews. This is a band called Vice with a tune called Wrath. This is Soundcheck. Get to voting.
Find Soundcheck on iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and in your local taco truck. Find Soundcheck on iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and in your local taco truck.
Now, once again, let me just repeat it because I said it at the beginning of the show. In case you didn't hear the beginning of the show, these aren't bands that I picked as death metal bands. It is what they are calling themselves. When I get their electronic press kits or whenever they do a bio, they're calling themselves this. It's not me just going, hey, I think this sounds like death metal. To me, that was more of a rough, hard rock, progressive kind of a deal. The vocal didn't really fit into the death metal category. Still a killer tune. Man, what a good tune. And it's a concept record too, so that's a band that I went back and listened to more of after I heard them on my own show. It's like, hey, man, that band deserves some attention, so I gave them some attention. So Vice, really cool. I can't seem to tag them on Facebook, though, because Vice, there's 800 different Vices, and most of them are like police department, Vice squads looking for hookers and stuff, and that doesn't really do me any good to, tag them because I don't have anything to do with hookers or, So anyway, yeah, coming up next is a band that, God, we should certainly get some votes for this one because they have got a lot of fans out there. Just based on their Facebook page, thousands and thousands and thousands of bands. And I remember when they came out, it's been a little while back. I don't know if I've ever played them or not, but they're called Warhammer. And apparently they are turning some damn heads because, like I said, when I went to the Facebook page, I do a little research, before I do the show. I don't listen to the music because then it's no fun. It's not as fun to review. It's not as fun to have that natural instinct. Here's what I actually thought because I just heard it, kind of a deal. So, yeah, man. So that's why sometimes there's some bad tunes. It just happens. It's just that's part of the deal on Soundcheck. You never know what you're going to get. But doing the genre show is going to really kind of thin that out for everybody because you're going to know what you're going to be listening to. And I'm going to figure out real quickly end of the year what shows people are liking the most. So then, of course, we'll recreate it in 2019. I can tell you guys already that my plans for 2019 are going to be something called the Masters, and that's going to be master cuts off of big records that didn't get enough attention. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get into how the record was made and blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be behind the music, Soundcheck style. But coming up right now from the Moose Pit here in OKC, it is Moose and Warhammer with Soundcheck. Make sure and text in your vote, the band that should be on the Soundcheck Spotify list, 424-666-7356. Hey, by the way, we do have a Reverb Nation. If you want to sign up to the email list, you can do that. Just Soundcheck on Reverb Nation. Warhammer.
You're listening to Soundcheck with the Moose.
War for a life full of lies. Watch the sky scream so loud. Is it dream or is it true? Think before you take on. Watch the sky scream so loud. Is it dream or is it true? Think before you take on.
Want to know if you suck?
Hey, you suck.
Send your music to Soundcheck.
If it sounds like thrash and looks like thrash, I call it thrash. To me, that was not death metal at all. That was easily thrash. It was really good thrash. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not allowed to have a bass tone like that unless you can play like that, okay? Because the bass tone was just almost to the point of annoying, but dude was just killing it. Really fun thrash and roll. Good stuff, not death metal at all. I'd give that a 4 taco, maybe even a 4.25 taco rating. I can see why they're turning heads because the thrash revival is getting bigger all the time. And it comes in spurts and then it kind of dies off again. And but yeah, man, that was cool. It, Warhammer made me initially think, Viking kind of, Norwegian kind of black and death metal, but that's not what I expected at all. But that was cool. It was thrash. It should have been on a thrash show. We will be doing thrash shows. We're gonna do black, death, doom, fuzz, prog, gent, guitarded, which is the guitar shows, instrumental stuff, prog rock, prog metal, rock, hard rock, glam rock, symphonic metal, Viking metal. We're gonna do our best to cover and industrial and punk, and we're going to do our best to cover every possible area. It's going to be something. When I decided to do this, I said that I wanted to make sure that nobody was left out. That everybody would at least have one episode, or one genre to themselves. So the punk rock people could listen on the punk shows, and the people who just like, adult AOR hard rock would have a show. And it also keeps it fresh for me. I'm not listening to the same crap all the time. I think next week is black metal. So black metal came in, I think, number 2 on the poll. So we'll do that. And the most of the music that I get is black, death, grind, kind of stuff. So, but I do get a lot of the other music as well. So enough to do shows. We'll also do the true underground shows, which are bands that just contacted me and sent their music in. That'll be kind of a potpourri show, of different genres. So we'll still have a normal type Soundcheck show every now and then. We'll also continue to do the Chicks That Rock, which is, one of my favorite things to do. Would love doing the Chicks That Rock shows. Want you guys to get involved with us on social media. Like I said, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, Pinterest even, believe it or not. Get involved with this because I talk to everybody, everybody that sends in an email, everybody that sends in a text. I send one back. My pointer finger on my right hand is dead. It just doesn't even work anymore because I've sent so many texts and emails, and oh god, it's painful. So yeah, man, if you get involved with this, and that's another reason why we did the format the way we did this year, with the texting in. And don't worry, I'm not collecting numbers. I'm not, trying to collect it. I'm not the NSA. I'm not going to save your number. I'm not going to bother you. You text in, you vote, and I'm going to say thank you. I might send you a picture or a link to the show or something like that, but I'm not going to, spam you with a bunch of, crap. So don't worry about that. And don't let me forget, after this next tune, we'll tell the winner of the Facebook Twitter poll of the week, which was which country had the bigger influence on modern day metal, Europe or the United States. So yeah, I guess, Europe isn't really anyway, so it's a big spread out thing over there. But anyway, yeah, man. So coming up next is a band that we actually, when I put the show together tonight, I was running a little short on time. So I went into the old Moose Bank and pulled out a couple bands that had never been on the show, and we wanted to put some extra music on here. So I've never heard of them. They're called Haunt, which I think is a cool name. It's a little related to Ghost, have you, with a tune called Luminous Eyes. And it's a band that, called themselves death metal. So welcome to the death metal Soundcheck. And don't worry, anybody that's, curious or confused, every death metal show will have different death metal bands. So it's not going to be this same show over and over again. Every show, every week will be new, new content and new bands. So don't sweat that. Yeah, man. Haunt, Luminous Eyes. She's got luminous eyes. Betty Davis eyes, right? I can't sing. It's the truth.
Hey, this is Richard from Sifting, and you're listening to the Metal Moose Radio.
to the Soundcheck Taco Line, 424-666-7356.
All right, so listen, if you have a publicist or somebody that's taking care of your management and sending out your music and stuff, and to make sure they label your music the proper genre. Now, I don't remember the haunt. I don't know how it got to me, if it came through a PR company or if the band contacted me themselves. I don't know, because I get music from lots of people, lots of different ways. But that wasn't death metal, not even close. It was hard rock at best, and it was okay. It sounded to me like a band that would be in the background on a movie that you're watching. You know what I mean? It just sounded kind of stock hard rock, I guess is the best way to put that. It was okay. It didn't have anything to me that made me want to listen to it more. It was, standard hard rock kind of, stuff. So it was all right. I'd give it like a 3 taco kind of a deal. Okay, so I told you guys that we would say the winner of the poll. The winner of the Facebook Twitter poll last week's question was, who had the bigger influence on modern day metal, Europe or the United States? And Europe took it, but it was really close, man, because a lot of people had a lot of different arguments on that. So that was pretty cool. So Europe does win the Facebook Twitter question. I'll be posting the new question when I release the show, which is tonight, so I'll probably post the new Facebook Twitter poll question on Wednesday. Give you guys about a week to fight over that. And if you guys have a suggestion for a question we could use on the poll, make sure and send those over, because if I like it, I'll use it, man, and I'll give you credit on the air. Say, hey, this listener came up with this question. So we can come up with this. This next band is called Throat with an extra A. Yes, THROAAT. That extra A makes it metal. The song is called Burning the Ice. It's Soundcheck coming to you from the Moose Pit. Let's get it on.
You're listening to Soundcheck with the Moose.
very, very interesting, very noisy, had a gothic feel to it a little bit, kind of like, mine went blank on that, but interesting tune, and I don't know that I would necessarily call that death metal either, kind of a weird combo, gothic, something, but it was cool. It was, I'd give it a 3 taco deal. So listen, we're at the end of the show, guys. The whole point of this show was to you getting involved with the bands and the bands getting their fans involved. So if you're in a band and you're on this show and you don't tell your fans to vote for you to be on the Soundcheck Spotify, you don't deserve it, man, because the point is getting your fans involved. So we want bands and fans who want to get involved. Same thing with the listeners. Guys, listen, if you just want to listen to the show, I totally get that. I do. But if you want to get more interactive, I want you to texting in comments, anything you want to do. But we're taking votes through next Tuesday, which will be the next Soundcheck episode, number 2 of 2018. I think it's going to be black metal. I'm not sure, but I'll find out later. So text in 424-666-7356. And listen, if you're a band and you're in Europe and you can't text, you can also email votes to moose@themetalmoose.com, and make sure and mention what number the band was in the order of the show. Like I said, if you can't remember, go on iTunes or Facebook or Spreaker. There'll be a list. Also, I'm sure on iHeartRadio and Stitcher and all of that. The list is there. And if you want to know, you can just write me, and I can probably tell you. So it's been awesome, man. This has been cool. It's been really different. I didn't spend so much time really dialing in on noise and sound. I just kind of let these things go and played it. Some of the bands are death metal. Some of them weren't. I think that's something we need to work on. But listen, guys, we're going to dominate this year. Own the underground. Get involved. Be a part. Take care of each other, man. I've said it, always will. You wake up, you kick ass, you be kind, you repeat. This is Soundcheck from the Moose Pit. We're going to bid you adieu for the evening. Until next time, do me a favor and take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else at the same time. We'll see you next time on Soundcheck.
The Metal Moose is on the